Hey there everyone, welcome to another video about making a short film. In this case, the short film I'm talking about is called Lone Mountain. It's a period film that we are shooting on 16mm film. If you wanted to learn more about that, you can check the video and really get the backstory of where this all came from. This video is talking about the last steps, the last leg before we approached production, before we got to principal photography, and it was really terrifying and scary. We were literally 2 weeks before we were going to start rolling, and I look back at these videos and I kind of like feel terrified again because it was a very intimidating, scary moment, realizing all the things we had to get done before we had to start rolling and trying to get this thing in the can before time ran out. So with this first night we got there, so again, we're shooting in Polson, Montana. Luckily, Derek has family members, who's my producer. He's got family members there. We connected through the film commission with a company called Novavento, who are an incredible production company, studio, whatever you want to call them. They basically allow productions to come into that part of Montana, south of Glacier. Luckily, Derek and Afton were able to go around for probably half a day with them to kind of roughly scout it out, take some photos, pictures, videos, and then when we got there that night, we were able to kind of go through it with them. So what you see in the video here is us talking about, and he's just kind of showing and walking through the general areas. We were tight, just like everything else we've done on this project, whether it's the test shoot we did in LA for Alex and myself, or the shooting days we're giving ourselves, which is only being 4, or in this case for our scout shoot. I'm very stingy. I have kids at home and I want to get back to them as soon as possible, and I want to save money. And so we were there for a weekend and we want to be quick. Okay, I'm excited to see the forest stuff. Okay. Oh, there's moss!
And this is just like right off the road.
The next day, let's just continue on. We had our first look at the facility of Novavento, meet some of the staff there, met up with Brandon, the owner, as well as Jessica, who was kind of taking over as art director for us.
Yeah, I know like a key is, especially kind of period piece, is to have things that look of time but not from our times.
At this point in time, we had connected with a prop master and costumer that was in Whitehall, Montana, and we were going to see them the next day, but we figured we might as well look through what they have at Novavento. We're going to be there anyway. Maybe we can find pieces that we like. So that's what we're doing here. Mm-hmm. I'm assuming this is faux, right?
Yep. The fur. It's most likely real.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. Very cool.
So we kind of talked about making him a bit more like dandy, if you will. Like, because he's really out of place. I don't know. I do like this, where there's some like dishevelment about it.
What about a vestia, maybe? Like a couple, just like, I just feel like there could be layers or pieces, you know. Yeah, but I have thought about the undershirt the most, because the undershirt for me, like a lot of them we're seeing are white, and I don't know if I want stark white. Like cream or like a tan or a beige, you know, it's probably more, not so.
I really like this color.
That actually is pretty nice.
I'm talking can't come out, yeah.
What are your thoughts on like the colors or like him as his costume? Have you been?
Yeah, I liked when we talked and mentioned him being lighter compared to the rest of the around, and which I like with that shirt.
It would be lighter.
Shirt. This might be too.
Oh, that's cool.
Dark. Yeah, I mean, natural too much.
What if it's just like what if it was like a more a little bit more color contrast, you know?
Yeah. Because there's like probably very little blue in this whole film.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, not a lot of blue.
Like that's why with his hat, I'm like, I think the hat has to be key, because like that's like the key difference between our two characters, like in their hats, like.
So you can tell like what the time period they're in.
Yeah.
I actually kind of like that one.
Yeah.
This one kind of gives me Kevin Costner vibes from Yellowstone.
Yeah, this jacket is 100% like Kevin Costner. Old Kev is called.
Old Kev.
But, yeah, I think.
Yeah,
I like that. I like that look.
I really like this jacket though.
So as you can see, it was really exciting to. This is kind of our first opportunity of really going through costuming, and obviously Novavento is not a full service, you know, costuming wardrobe department for films. It's not a huge, you know, library of stuff, but they did have things that we found that were going to be useful. Some props that Jordan really liked, some that I liked. At this point in time of pre-production, we had most closely, I believe, if not already, had locked down our actors. So we had finished the casting process at this point in time. And I don't know if I want to talk about that in this video because that's another incredibly amazing experience that I had. I'm not gonna reveal that just yet. At this time, we're 2 weeks out before shooting, and so we have to get alterations for our wardrobe. And in order to do that, we had to bring him back with us to Utah, hopefully get him altered by then, and then have him ready to go back to Montana for the shoot. So we were hoping, with the limited time that we had, that we were going to be able to find the costumes that were ready and made for us. So that's why we did a little extra scouting through Novavento's selection. Even though I didn't think we were going to find something we were in love with, it was good that we found some pieces that would probably work for some of our characters. What are you looking to get at this camps that we're going to?
So yeah, just accessibility and something that's close but doesn't feel like it's close to civilization. You know, to feel like you're alone in this vast wilderness. There's not any life, whether it's animal life or human life, but also that we can shoot 360 degrees, so we can shoot any direction that we want, and it looks like wilderness this way, wilderness that way, and we don't have to move things. You know, we don't have to position things different, and it's really one setup. Once we're set, we can shoot this direction, that direction, this direction, or that direction. I think it's pretty important. So yeah, it's a little bit overcast. I wish we had a little bit more like sun rays coming through, but I mean, we might be able to get some, just to kind of see how the light falls. If we're in like forest area, where is the light pockets gonna be at? What position is the sun gonna be at? Where we're gonna be in relation to things, because that really changes a lot.
Yeah.
So
Right.
I guess I'm mostly worried about like the consistency while we shoot. I'd like it to just be as consistent as possible.
Yeah, that'll help us in the long run. Jordan, what are you looking for at this campsite? What's some key things you're looking for?
You know, I feel like for different reasons I'm on the same page as you. Well, I would love to see it really play to that isolation where, I would love to just have like a small clearing of just like trees, you know? We can't cut down a bunch of trees to make it what we want, but I would love to just see a small patch of flat earth where we could just set up this tent so it feels so out of place, like it shouldn't be there, you know, where it's almost alien like we talked about originally. And for me, I just want that like really wooded area.
Yeah, me too.
And then like one spot of just like and I like the idea with it being, it's like almost that, not really claustrophobic, but in a way like he's just kind of trapped in this place where he can't really get out, and obviously, I mean, I think we'll see while he's journeying, he's not the entire time in this enclosed like forest, but I think playing to that in a subtle kind of subconscious way of I'm within this confined place that I can't really break out of the tree line, you know.
What's that?
We got a chain lock on the chain.
Oh, okay.
So Jess is getting a hold of the people.
Alrighty.
So
Are we good right here to hang out, or
so just hang out. You know, feel free to get some photos because you're in one of the best spots in the valley for scenery.
This is awesome. So that cabin that I used originally, that was based in Swan Valley, Idaho, it actually had been burned to the ground by the fire department. We had to find another cabin. We had to source one that was historically accurate, looked like it was built, late 1800s. We had to find one that we could actually shoot on, that was structurally sound. And based upon our story, we actually had to find one that could prove to be in kind of multiple timelines, depending on how we wanted to use with VFX. So basically, we needed two different versions of this cabin. A version of it where it is disheveled and falling apart and abandoned, and a version of it that looks like it's being lived in. And so it was not going to be an easy task. This is something that the Film Commission, when we were early talks with them after getting the grant, they did say that this was something they could source. I knew there was going to be options, but the problem was how far away were they from where we were filming. And with 4 days of shooting, if you have to take an entire day just to travel to get somewhere across the state, that's not really going to be easy for us when it comes to the rest of our production and getting it. So this was going to be half of the battle, was can we find a cabin that looks like the dream, that's going to be feasible. It's going to be logistically practical for us to actually get there within a day and shoot there, because there's quite a bit of scenes in the script that are going to be at this cabin. I had spent days, weeks, spending up countless nights looking on Google Images and just trying to find some of these old homesteads, these historical preservations. There's a lot of them in Montana. There's some that they had on the Film Commission indexed, for sites and whatnot. But I was trying to find like around the northwestern part of Montana where we're going to be shooting near Polson and Glacier. And I was just really struggling to find one that looked good. And I knew we could do some trickery with cameras and how we're going to shoot it and maybe some VFX. But I just really wanted to find that glorious, lone cabin on a hillside with a beautiful mountain range behind it, like I did in the concept film. And I was just struggling to find one around this. There was a couple up northwest that was maybe about an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours away from where we were going to be staying. So it was within the range. There's actually one that I'm pretty sure the Nicolas Cage movie, The Old Way, that was shot last year. It was shot. They had some scenes that were filmed there, so I knew that they allowed people to shoot there. It was a restored cabin, a restored homestead that was there. There was a couple other ones nearby that were kind of historically recreated. There was one originally that I had found that was in between. It was not where we were going to be shooting the western part. It was actually in between Billings and Yellowstone, so it was like very bottom in the middle of Montana, and honestly, I think it was like 3 hours away from where we were going to be shooting, so it was not going to be very practical. But that was called Penn's Cabin, I believe, and that was one I saw where it was a little small, very accurate restored cabin of a settler there that was right by this forest tree line, which worked really well for the story and didn't really have any cool mountain ranges behind it, but it had at least kind of open vast field of this wilderness behind it, so it looked very isolated. So in Montana, for our cabin, we needed 2 different time periods, but there are really, I come to find out, there are kind of 2 types of cabins that you could find that are period accurate. There are the ones that are restored historically, and they're historical sites, and there are ones that are truly abandoned that have not been preserved and not been restored. And sometimes you'll find some things in between, but that's kind of like the real category that they're in. So nothing was really fitting that perfect little in between to fit all of our needs until out of nowhere, when I'm on this deep dive search online, I find myself on Reddit. I find, I kid you not, the most gorgeous image that I'll show of this cabin, literally surrounded by mountains, nothing else, just vast wilderness. Looked like it was a movie poster, the photo that I saw. I shared that with Derek, and he was like, oh my gosh, that's perfect. Where is that? I shared it with Alex. He was over the moon excited about that. That was the dream. If I had been from the UK and I saw that place making this film, I would have said that's where I need to shoot this thing. Now, the problem about this is that a lot of these places that are on, you've seen photographers posting stuff or abandoned cabins, a lot of times they are not indexed, documented, don't have coordinates. I had no idea where it was. Luckily, I'd found similar photos of the same abandoned cabin. It was kind of known online as the Mission Mountain, Montana homestead. As I looked, where's the Mission Mountain range? To my delight and hope, realized that was kind of south of where we were going to be shooting in Polson. So that mountain range is by far the closest of any of the ones we'd been looking at. That is just too good to be true. That stroke of luck. If that is a place we can actually find and a place we can get permission to shoot on, we're going to be golden. It's going to be nearby us. It has a look to it where you could pretty easily dress it up to where it looks like it's livable and time period accurate. And in addition to that, it looks like it's abandoned, so you could shoot interiors possibly through there. It was the golden place. It was the dream location, and I was just everything I wanted to do. I kept hounding on Brandon at Novavento and Jessica and everyone that's working with us. I'm like, where is this place? Can we find it? What can we do to get to it? About a week or so prior, before we're going to head out there to go scout, I get this email. They told me, they said, we know the area, we found it, we're pretty sure we can find it, and we're pretty sure we have the contact information of the landowner, and we most likely are going to be able to shoot on that. We can get you permits in time. We can have that be your location for the cabin. And I was like, yes, I'm so excited. Again, we were going to look at other options, other locations while we were there, but that's kind of the story of this Mission Mountain cabin that we're trying to figure out how to get there. So the cabins we were looking at that they showed us around, and our first thing we did in the day, it was really exciting. And we worked with the team there, and we had our good historian. His name is slipping my mind, so I apologize if he's watching this somehow, but he was so informative to teach us about the workmanship, where the history came from, how these buildings came to be, when they were changed or reconstructed, or when Montana put actual funding back into these historical sites to restore them.
These logs are all hewn, flattened, and then they have a notch on the end. So the logs are all put together by setting the posts and dropping them down. So they designed these buildings this way to be able to be dismantled, kind of like the giant Lincoln logs.
Yeah. What about
together.
was there ever like a foundation they needed, or is just they put the logs
It would
down?
probably just been on rocks type foundation.
And it was really an amazing experience to just be there for hours with him and learning about the history of the settlers and the native tribes lived there. And those cabins were perfectly accurate. They looked amazing on the inside. They had even lots of set decorations and props that we could have used.
This location will
bring us contrast. What door opening do you like better? I like this door because, I like being able to, you can really use this space.
Yeah.
So he comes in, it's kind of like a small door.
We were not going to use the exteriors of any of these because they were right by a highway, honestly. So it wasn't going to work out on that. But we were able to basically realize that, hey, if this other beautiful location we're trying to find, this Mission Mountain homestead, if that doesn't work out for us, we will definitely be able to film and be great. They had, bathrooms nearby. It was easy access for us, so we can quickly get in and get out. And they looked great on the inside. So we didn't have we'd have the budget to have our own sets be built that had this kind of accuracy, but we were so privileged, and this is what's so great about shooting on location. We were able to utilize those resources, and we got permission to shoot in historical accurate buildings that were actual buildings that were built in the 1800s. We had our favorite we picked out, had kind of a nice hearth in there, and we had these really cool looking slat walls that we were going to be able to shoot through and have some light come through. But it was nice we had options. I think they had 3 or so buildings that we had access to if we needed. Before we thought, can we even find one in the area that we can use that's going to work for us? And they end up giving us 3 within half mile of each other. So it was, for a creative and for a director like myself, it was so great to have those kind of options, and to think, talking with Alex, the DP, and Jordan, the production designer, be like, what do we like? Which one do we want to use? It doesn't happen often for indie filmmaking to have that kind of creative decisions, so it was kind of fun. I just love how the grass down here is like so short and trim.
Well, yeah, it's natural.
Yeah. How does it do that? Is it just because that's just the type of grass by the lake?
I love rocks too.
Yeah. These random rocks are out. This is probably one of the most iconic shots, I think, for a landscape, is this right here. The ground was, yeah.
I do like this area. Like if you look over here, that's all pretty even. And so I feel like that would be an easy spot to set up a tent. And I, like we were saying earlier, I like the down trees, and there is just a wilderness feel about this.
This makes me think though that it's like he's trying to bushwhack. He's coming through it, not like this is this mystical camp that's been placed there for him. I feel like I can see it being like he gets stopped and then looks out and then we show the camp. That's almost like that transition. But I don't really see the camp being here, honestly. So.
Right, and
Oh, this is amazing. This is where it needs to be. Derek. Dark mystical forest. Holy smokes! It looks like the Forbidden Forest in Harry Potter almost.
yeah, no, it's cool. Wait till you go inside.
Yeah, the camp has to be here. Camp has to be here.
Oh, dude, there's a clearing right across the
Oh
way.
my gosh.
Yeah, if we could get on the other side, there's a huge awesome.
Yeah, look at this. Look at this. Okay, guys. I guess we could cross over that bridge over there. That little logs and stuff, maybe.
Oh yeah, that's an option. I kind of hope this bridge.
Are you gonna go toesies in?
I think I'll go too.
So this is your
Are
little...
you recording in case
I'm
they
recording.
fall in? Okay, perfect.
No. I'm recording to show how great of a spot this is. Is this your spot?
This is my spot. This is my spot where I come to say goodbye to my loved ones. I come down here to go fishing with my son. We picnic down here. So I feel like this is a sacred spot and I love it. So
It feels... I think this is the right spot. This is where
yeah,
it is.
it's, I feel, yeah, very magical here. So
It is. It's got
yeah,
feeling.
I love it.
This is everything I had wished this
Really?
course looked like.
Yeah, after I read the script, I was like, nope, I'm bringing them here. So
This is it. I'm so happy you did. This is it. Yeah, this is the...
I think because like this also would like he would like come down into it,
Yep.
and that would just be interesting too. The tent I could see it being like right here,
Yep. Up against the tree there.
that's pretty flat. Yeah, dude.
I think this is it.
And like
Hey, Alex, come over here. Because shooting this way, I don't know we'll see far in the distance, but...
well, even looking through this.
Or this way, like, just shooting into the tree this way, like this is the campsite.
It never ends.
It just never ends, right? And it's like this little opening he comes into, you know? Does that make sense to you? Like, and you've never seen storyboards yet, but yeah, we've kind of oriented the camp where it's like... We have campfire here, somewhere
Yeah.
in the middle. Tent's kind of over here somewhere.
The other, sorry, just one thing to keep in mind here
Yes.
is these bulldozers aren't working now, but if we shoot here during the week, I wonder if they might be here.
And like noisy and moving around.
Yeah, so one thing to maybe consider is going further or closer to the river,
I see.
or like further down or closer to. So I mean, keep this one in mind. Plan
Yeah.
what you need, but
He wanted to get like... I mean, he probably needs to be down the riverbed, right? That's where they do the real panning, but...
It would be nice too, like for that one shot when he like leaves gold panning.
Yep.
Like that's kind of deep to like. You want to be up here, but being down there. And
Yep.
I'm gonna move over.
Yeah, right here, just move in like this. Yes. Exactly. Like basically. Oh wait, look over your shoulder again, Jordan. Yeah. Like that? Yeah. So we had quite a bit of areas that were very exciting, looked beautiful, were beyond my wildest dreams as far as what we could have gotten for some of these location shots. I've talked a lot about this cabin already, but I just want to just emphasize this is kind of the apex of this video of how exciting this was. When we were there, for the short day we were there, we actually had the people we were working with. They knew of someone who knew of someone who knew where it was. Essentially, it's kind of what they relayed to me, but they didn't have the address of the spot. So we were running out of time. Day was running late. We got the notification that they had the coordinates and they sent them over to us, and we had the spot. We were now able to go to this site. So we are now going to the our exterior. We're hoping, because that's what we're looking for now, is the exterior for the cabin for Jed. And this is honestly a place that I since seeing a photo, an abstract photo on, I think it was Reddit, of this unknown location on Mission Mountain, I fell in love with it immediately. And Derek, the producer, fell in love with it. Alex fell in love with it. I think Jordan, you fell in love with it right when you saw it. And so we're actually on our way to it now. And I'm like, I feel like I'm meeting my actor for the first time or something. I feel like this is a big moment to go see this location. I hope it's everything I'm dreaming it to be. And if not, we'll make it look that way, right, Alex?
Oh yeah, we'll move the mountains.
We'll move mountains to make it look
We have
right.
faith.
You know when you see something on Instagram and then you see it in real life, like a location or a resort or something, and it doesn't look anything like it does on online? That's kind of what I was, in the back of my mind, I was kind of thinking maybe it was going to happen with us, is that it was so pristine and picturesque and just cinematic and had everything that I wanted for this location. I just was expecting to show up there and it was going to be a trash heap or gone, or it was going to be broken down, or had the big telephone pole right in the way or whatever, and it was not going to be like it did, like it looked online. Let's just play it out and you'll see our experience when we actually rolled up on this location for the first time. Just saw it. The place I've been looking time and time again online on Google Maps. I think I looked at 2 o'clock one morning to find that house. Wow, guys.
nervous about hopping a barbed wire fence.
A little bit. But like, here's the cool part. There's interior. We can get inside it.
Yeah.
You know, like, what if we shoot there?
just do that
and
instead.
do it all there instead. Cause look at that.
Well, and that's amazing that the fact that he was like, yeah, there's nothing that just has emptiness. And the reason is because they're able to frame that
Yes.
sight out of it. And
Yeah,
so
they're
this
down a little
is-
bit.
This is perfect.
This is amazing. I don't know how a place like this could still remain so untouched. It was truly marvelous. Truly I would even call it a spiritual experience as we rolled up. But in Montana, what's so beautiful about it is there's still spots like this that for miles and miles around, you don't hear any cars, you don't see any major buildings, telephone poles. It is still so beautifully remote. And as we hopped the fence, we walked up to the building. We did notice some interesting facts about the building. It was this homestead. Brandon relayed to me through the email that it was actually one of the oldest buildings in Montana still standing. It had quite a bit of historical importance to the state. It was kind of a second sign to me in a way where like this was the right spot for us to shoot Lone Mountain. This was the right location to have. Just really cool to think about how it's been there waiting, standing all by itself out in this wilderness, looking over those beautiful cascading mountains year after year after year until finally we were able to approach it and have the amazing privilege of being able to have a set piece that is authentic, that is real, that is historically accurate, and now being able to be in this film that is a period film. It's almost felt like it was perfectly built for us by an incredible craftsman or team of set designers is what it really felt like. But it didn't look like it was going to be safe to shoot inside, even though it has some cool looking rooms and whatnot. I don't think any of us agreed it would probably be a good idea to shoot inside there. So we were able to kind of resort to the other locations that we had seen earlier that day and to shoot the interiors of this cabin, and I would have no problem of kind of swapping out the two. But for all of our wides, all of our shots of him showing it on the hillside, it was going to work out just perfect. Goodbye, house.
Got it.
Got it. Got some sweet shots for posters.
Yeah.
In fact, yeah, why don't you even reframe a couple here?
Yeah.
Hey, we're done with all of our scouts, and I'm a little tired, but I feel really excited about what we've got so far. Most excited about this guy behind me. I've looked long and hard for it, so now we got it. And this is definitely gonna be the climax, the final, tying of all the story together, and it's the huge part of it. So, how do you feel, Alex, about it? You think it's
I like it.
excited, less excited?
No, I'm more excited. I know we were talking about like a shot of Mills leaving. I think that looks awesome.
It would look so cool, right?
Really kind of tie things up.
The final shot is that house standing out there, Lone Mountain. That's kind of what you see, right?
I just can't believe it actually looks like.
It does in the photos.
Yeah. I was like, yeah, Photoshop, like whatever.
Yeah.
No, it's that.
It looks just like it.
Yeah.
Like we literally, for our poster, we're gonna just get a picture of it. It looks that good, Okay, so we wrapped up. Everybody's here. Son's eating chips.
6 bags.
Sixth bag of chips. But yeah, how do you guys feel? I mean, after seeing everything.
My favorite spot for like the campsite was where we went later in the day, the more forested area. That was just kind of like perfectly what I had in mind. To see this old cabin and just kind of like this ideal of like a rundown cabin was like perfect. We saw a lot of really good ones today, but like when it came to decrepit,
But it's not like haunted and like broken down and like
it's more
defaced. It's just forgotten. It's alone.
Yeah,
it's like
no graffitis on it, which is cool too. And
it's not. Yeah.
It like I don't know. It's cool because it is just a part of American history as well. But
Yeah. And I'm not worried at all about it being too big. I was nervous about it. It's like it's not going to match the interiors we're at the other place, but I think it does totally match. I think it's going to be.
It's a pretty small house.
Yeah. Honestly, Jordan, I think the first, concepts and the things you're kind of presenting at that forest we went to, that last place, that really matches it, doesn't it? I feel like that's kind of that vision you were thinking of, and that's what I've been thinking of too.
You have that image in your mind, and then like for me to see it and be like, okay, yeah, this is where camp is going to get set up, and this is where it's going to like go through this arc or whatever.
Right.
This is so vital because we're going to be able to get there and kind of just know where we're at, We've looked at it. We felt the space, and it's a terrible, like, when we tried this film the first time.
We
We were finding
that morning of.
and like, you just waste so much time. Now that you know the space is what it feels like, it's so much easier to kind of map out this is where the camera needs to be. And so it just kind of gets you all organized and kind of on the same page as everyone as we kind of talk about things. And so, yeah, I'm excited. I think it's gonna be really good.
Because the thing for me, storyboarding, I have this like always image in my head. I'm sure we all do as creatives. Like, you kind of have this like image of how it looks, and then when you don't know the location yet, you can't map it out. You can't plan for it. You can't storyboard it. You can't really figure out how it's going to go and now we can kind of have that collaborative process where we're like, okay, now we're going to actually show how exactly we're going to approach it and execute it, because we've seen it, we felt it, we've been there, we know how that environment is, and that's really, really important beforehand. After we get there on set, it's just getting it, just executing it. So,
and I think one of the cool things about finding that spot is being able to find a spot where it is kind of what you pictured, and not like compromising on like, what, we can't get to this location, but yeah, it was cool to be able to find that location and be like, this is a practical place to film, because we're not that far from the road, but we look deeper in.
Yep.
And yeah, I'm like seeing it does just get you excited, and it starts getting you to visualize everything so much more, and then like, okay, this is what we need to make this script a reality, make it a visible thing.
Yeah. No, I think locations, props, our actors obviously are going to be the biggest, like, I guess, question marks that we're going to like still figure out and solve, right? Now that I feel like we're getting to the end of it, soon hopefully going to the costume place tomorrow and kind of wrapping up, hopefully figuring out our costumes finally. I'm going to feel like, okay, those variables that I've felt not as confident on, it's not what I do, but obviously bringing you on, Jordan, has been huge in developing that. I think I will feel more confident in those parts of this, like selling the idea this film is legit, The next day was visiting Whitehall, which was where Sharon and Mark were at, who are a incredible costumer, propsmith, and armorer.
So we build a lot of stuff, so we've got all the fabrics everywhere.
Oh, awesome. Wow. Okay, Sharon, you mind telling the camera where we're at and what we're doing today? Is that all right?
Mark and Sharon Brown, and we're working with...
This is Sharon.
Lone Mountain is
Lone
visiting
Mountain.
here, and they're visiting Couture de Victoriana.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just
See,
to
he
look at
does
their
it.
work.
You're doing great.
And some prop set deck stuff. If we can help them, we'd love to give it a go.
And Sharon, you've been doing this for a long time, right?
Yeah,
You said?
45 years.
So.
We've done 60 movies, and I don't know how many series, and documentaries, and all kinds of things.
That's
in
pretty
various capacities.
Yeah.
We all start somewhere.
No, that's exciting. So we're stoked you guys are helping us out.
This is our estimate.
Oh wow.
So we locate fabrics, or we produce whatever, like if you need star quality or things like that. Right now I'm working on...
Last video I mentioned how we were running into a lot of issues of finding props, finding, costuming for this. It was getting close to where we're going to start shooting this. And luckily, we got put in contact with Sharon and Mark. Is this like a Elizabethan era kind of stuff we're looking
all
over
kinds.
here?
I just keep them around for inspiration. They're all over the place.
So cool.
So I don't have to look at white walls.
Yeah. They were just so gracious to kind of let us slip into their schedule. That I look back and I can't believe how much of a bullet we dodged there, because if they were booked, they could have been, they could have been, sorry, it's too soon of notice, come back maybe in a month or so. Mark is an absolute historian when it comes to this time period, this genre.
This big one?
Yeah,
That's a tack trunk, 1850s. The officer's saddle and bit and all that would go in there.
Okay.
And that's an original.
We took a little too long there because I love history, and I talked to him, and I wish I could have been there for an entire day just hearing about this era. So they will actually be most likely credited not only as our costuming and our props master, but also our historians, because they were by far one of our largest consultants when it came to double checking or proofing some of the concepts I had, props that we're looking at using, and kind of like getting his sign off, so to speak. Like, hey, so, daguerreotypes, like, I always knew that they were kind of built around this time. They started to have this technology, but is it feasible to have a carte de visite, in 1865 with a small settler out there in the middle of nowhere? And the other thing that was so fun about, so I mentioned briefly about, I'm going to be creating a video about our daguerreotype or tin types that we're going to do for this. We're going to try to do it real. Unbeknownst to me, Mark is actually a trained photographer that does wet plate processing or tin types. So it was another great option for me to kind of consult him on like the story and be like, here's what it is this accurate? And he kind of either signed off on it or even kind of just tweaked it. Like, maybe you can be more like, this, so that would be understandable. And it was so relieving to step into their costume department of these two, and they had just rows and rows and rows and rows of amazing looking costumes. I think Jordan breathed a very strong sigh of relief as well as we looked at it.
Makes it look a little more lapel. Yeah, we got best lapel brown, and then go for another like dark brown with that.
Yeah.
And the main reason I'm kind of doing that is it will contrast this, but it will also contrast this jacket.
Interesting, yeah. Yeah, I mean, this is really, I like that.
Yeah, I like it because this isn't like a fancy coat, but it's like a coat he would wear.
It's a little nicer, a little more dressy. What was so exciting working with Jordan is that he has something in his head, I had something in my head, Alex has something in his head, and obviously Sharon and Mark are there to kind of help us find what that is in their selection.
For the shirt, a one button
like
guy.
Pirate shirt, whatever you call it.
Yeah, so I mean, this is very similar to the other one in color.
For directors or filmmakers that are working with production designers or costuming, I guess the biggest thing I would say that I felt was great was to just see what they pull out, see what they gravitate towards. Jordan's very hands-on. He's very much like he's going through the material, he's filling things, he's just getting stacks and stacks and stacks of stuff, and I just kind of sat back and let him go through everything. And then when it came time, he'd turn to me and say, okay, what are you thinking? I would like point this, I think that, and then we kind of refine it. And we kind of just had like a process of elimination. Our female character, Adeline, it was actually fairly quick. We had basically two pieces we immediately gravitated towards, the two of us. It was both with colors, things that we've seen in photography, and we ended up on using two different outfits for our Adeline. One we decided to use for her wet plate, and the other we're going to have that she was going to be seen in the actual film. So Adeline was easy, and Jedediah's character was honestly pretty easy too, because we didn't want to go too over like Mountain Man. We were going more almost Dapper Dan, that was out of his element a bit. And that's the best thing that I think that Jordan and I connected on, was that this character, when you think Mountain Man, like he's a guy traveling through the woods in the 1800s, you kind of think it's a Hugh Glass, like from Revenant, where he's from the mountains, he's of the mountains. In this case, it's not how I felt this character Jedediah was. He was actually, the best way to describe him is he is almost a fish out of water. He's someone who's passing through and not of the mountains. He is living and existing in the mountains, but he's not from the mountains. And that really guided us in our process of picking out what pieces, and then obviously with Mark and Sharon saying, hey, what is more casual versus what's like someone that was be traveling for a long time, what would they wear, what would they have, what kind of hat were they going to have. And some of the pieces that they had were fantastic, but we felt wasn't right because of our story choices for our character, and that really matters more than anything else. It's not just about what's the most iconic, memorable, or cool looking. It's always about what's going to represent your character most accurately. Working with Sharon and Mark was such a pleasant experience. I hope to work with them again. They really saved this production. They really came in and saved the day. Just like a lot of other individuals came out of Montana, they really came in clutch and allowed us to move forward with our date and not have to push back because we couldn't find costuming and props. This crate is this chest is, I love how it looks. Maybe it's a little big, but this one right here, Jordan, underneath this
But right now it's got a tent in it. I mean,
Okay.
you're welcome to any of it.
So are you thinking of like a giant shed?
No,
I
I was saying more like style wise. It's
Oh,
probably
style.
too big still, but like I like how it looks, the weather and the color and all that.
Oh, that little. Remember, I was pulling out cartridges.
Oh, yeah,
stuff?
yeah.
You could use that.
Oh, cool. I did take a
Box.
picture of it because it's
Yeah.
like, this is.
If you're okay using that, that one will look great.
Yeah, that one is.
We can put a padlock on it. You think?
Yeah, yeah. You know what? Too.
Or
We didn't go into my shop, did we? The lower shop.
in the basement. Your guys' basement.
Of the shop.
Oh.
Sharon's upstairs.
Oh, we did not go down there, did
okay,
we?
when we go, it's on our way out to
Okay.
the vehicle.
They had everything. They had stuff that I would have loved to use, but just it wasn't right for the story. Right? It was just so great to go in, have Jordan go through, pick out everything he needed, itemize it, and then basically head out. And then we were able to schedule time to come pick it up later when we're gonna be ready for our shoot in 2 weeks. Between finding my dream location, seeing the natural forest, figuring out logistics, and being there in person, definitely felt like this. If anything else I learned is when you're shooting on location, you have that spontaneity that comes when you're on set, and it happens even before you get to the set. When you're there on the test shoot, you're thinking of things, you're feeling you feel the environment, and it really gives you ideas even before you're rolling, weeks before you're rolling. And so I can't emphasize enough about how important it was for us to be there in that physical space, to be there in person. And I see why large filmmakers and small filmmakers do that. They go and they scout it out in person, and they don't take that light. When you're there in person at these historical sites, it really made me feel like this film was already coming to life. It was in my head, and it was perfect at this point in time. And it hadn't been ruined by production yet, which I always say it happens, and that's just how things go. So this is where it was getting real. I mean, at this point in time, we were 2 weeks out to shooting this thing, this 4 days of hell. I think Alex and myself looked at each other, and we were terrified. We were excited. We were very, very stoked. It was cool to be there together in Montana, but I think we had to kind of look at each other like, man, this is going to be... it was getting very real, and I was getting very nervous about everything. Overall, it was a very essential step for us to get closer to getting this thing shot, and it was essentially the real first step forward on this big old journey of completing Lone Mountain. So hopefully this has been informative. Hopefully you like watching this. Like I said, it's kind of a blend of a normal talking video with a kind of vlog style of us being there in person, and I hope that it gives you some creative insight. It's a little lengthy probably, but again, I wish someone had been doing this when I was prepping for this film, and by no means is this a perfect example of how film should be done in pre-production. We still had lots of issues, and we were understaffed and didn't have enough time or budget, but we were doing everything we needed just to get this thing done. As I always say in every video, learn from things that we did right and learn from our mistakes. Thanks again for watching. I'll catch you in the next one.